All right, Zach. Much different vibe here in 2024 than the 2023 season
Man,
opener.
just think about where we were a year ago, and
Right?
like it was just like pessimism, sadness. What is happening? The sky is falling, and now it's like, hey, we're back. We're back,
Yeah,
baby.
we're back, baby. Yeah. Oh boy, that reminds me of many times the Longhorns said they were back, but they actually did
No,
eventually
they're
come
back.
back.
They're
Yeah.
back.
What were your big takeaways out of this? I haven't even gotten the chance to read your three thoughts. I mean, what were just what did they do well tonight?
I mean, is it too easy to say everything? I mean, you saw steps, and I think one of the big things that dave-aranda said after the game that I really liked was like, this is a good first step. I'm looking forward to taking the next few. I don't think you're going to glean anything really about beating a team like Tarleton, who's
Sure.
probably a below average FCS team, but like DeQuan Finn looked the part. He looked like he was in tune with the new offense, in tune with the new players, and just that, his ability to scramble outside the pocket and make the throws he needs to make. And sure, there were a couple interceptions, but I think they were trying some stuff. So I think DeQuan Finn looked the part. On top of that, the new transfers looked the
Mm.
part. Ashton Hawkins got a touchdown from Texas State. Michael Trigg, who was at Ole Miss and USC, caught a touchdown. Keaton Thomas, started at West Virginia, went to community college. Dave-Aranda has been talking about him since he got here, and
Hmm.
he stepped up, had an interception and a pick six. So these new transfers have so quickly come in and just made an impact and filled the holes that Baylor needed to be filled. And again, take what you want from Tarleton, but I don't care that it was Tarleton. They could have been playing a junior varsity team, and the point would still stand that this is a step forward for Baylor.
Right, and this is what you want to see if you're playing Tarleton. This
Right.
is the kind of
Right.
game, 45-3 that you want to see if you're playing an opponent like this. And it was not the kind of opponent that every Big 12 team out there got, like
Right.
Houston getting torched by
UNLV.
UNLV, which I mean, UNLV is not the same level as
True.
Tarleton,
Well, Tech
but
and
Tech and
Abilene
Abilene
Christian,
Christian, yeah, absolutely. So, and of course, Texas State last year against Baylor. So, the fact that Baylor did go out, take care of business, sure, they did have some stuff they've got to clean up.
Mhm.
Um, Absolutely a positive sign. There's no question about it. Back to the transfers for a second. I mean, to me, it is big that those guys showed out because that was one of the knocks on Aranda a while ago was that they were slow to embrace the transfer portal. Well, now they're taking in these guys, and those guys are contributing.
How times have changed, right?
Yes,
Like it,
exactly.
they're paying players and they're doing it with transfers.
Right.
So like, man, what a time to be alive.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, let's pick some nits, I guess.
Hmm.
What are the things I think that you think they need to clean up?
Well, I did say that Daquan fit the part, but I will say, I think they were trying to like hit some big shots. They took a lot of like shots down the field, and they're not the timing maybe isn't there yet with
Hmm.
him and every like it was good. It was better than honestly I was expecting. But I think to beat Utah, to beat Oklahoma State or compete with them, you're going to kind of need to hit some of those explosive plays that I don't think were there yet. And
Hmm.
I think, a team like Tarleton, who certainly has some capable defenders, you should maybe be hitting them at a little higher rate. But maybe
Hmm.
that's just first game stuff. But I think that's where they can fix a little bit. And I know the offensive line I thought was pretty good overall,
Right.
but they were changing players, they were swapping guards and tackles in
Hmm.
and out like crazy all game. So I think they're still trying to find the right combination there. So I think those are two areas where I think that I don't know, especially offensively, they can take another step.
Yeah, I think it's hard to judge the offensive line against Tarleton, but they were getting a push
Hmm. Hmm.
and they weren't getting a ton of penalties. To me, those are good signs. Now, another nit that I would pick would be so they split carries kind of between Richard Reese and Dawson Pendergrass. I thought Richard Reese played well,
Hmm.
had a nice game. Dawson, I thought, there were a lot of just 2 and 3 and 4, yard runs where, like you said, sometimes against an opponent like Tarleton, you'd like to see him get to the next level of the defense and maybe break a 15 yarder,
Right.
I mean, so I think, he was averaging 3 point something yards a carry. You'd like to see a little more out of him, and maybe that opens the door for Dominic Richardson or someone else. So, we'll see. But and then back to Finn, I thought, like you said, they were probably trying some things down the field, but he's not going to be able to be that kind of a gunslinger against Big 12 teams,
No.
forcing it into like double coverage and stuff. That ain't going to work because those games will be a lot closer and you can't have those costly turnovers.
I mean, but I think that is I know before this game he was talking about how he's not really expecting a learning curve from the MAC to the Big 12. And I think there's certainly going to be one,
Oh, sure.
and I think I struggle to be too negative after a game like this just because it was game one, and he did show, 5 plays into the game, he's kind of showing why he's the guy. And so like I think some of those decisions are going to come. And like this game gave me faith that they actually will come, and that's just not me being optimistic.
So here's a quote from Todd Whitten, the Tarleton coach, after the game. He said, Baylor could have scored 100 on us. And I was like, wow. And, I asked Richard Brice, just how much, like if you could put a percentage on it, how much of the offense did y'all really even show tonight? He said 50 to 60%. So you would think there's still a lot more to come. And you don't want to show everything right away. Next week, they go to a very, very good Utah team. It will not be a Big 12 game, but it'll be, I mean, to me, that is going to be a very interesting game to see, just how good these Bears are.
And like that is a tough place to win. And if there's one step here, you need to take a leap to have any chance against Utah. And it's going to tell us so much about how real some of these changes are, and if tonight was just kind of smoke and mirrors. So it'll be absolutely fascinating to see. But again, like I am always optimistic, but I am more optimistic after watching this game. Just
hard not to be.
I think that the changes that they make, like Coach Spavital and that offense, I think you can win a bunch of different ways.
And honestly, watching that very first drive of the game took me back 10 years to Art Briles days, and Baylor just zip, 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 zip down the field. Because I was even mentioning to you, I was like, dude, if they have a Briles offense, get ready for some long games because they were always stopping the clock because they scored so fast, they did not sustain that necessarily the whole game, but just the fact that they had that potential to move the ball that quickly, we didn't see that really at all last year. So,
and I also, I know we're talking a lot about offense here, but I do want to mention the defense too.
Yeah.
Dave-Aranda calling plays, that I know it was a big story throughout really all of fall camp. And I think we saw kind of what he was envisioning, right? There was a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I think Garmin Randolph had 3 tackles on the first drive, including a sack. So I think, again, there were snippets of how good they could be.
Yeah.
And that it's not just a Joe. We saw what Dave Aranda's defense could actually look like. And, again, I think it's all good things.
Yeah. And in fact, that was another thing that Whitten said after the game that was kind of interesting, was something to the effect that he thought Baylor was actually playing a little softer zone than they expected. And so I do think that Baylor in this game was only showing as much as they kind of needed to show, to win the game 45-3. I mean, so that's all of that is good signs for the Bears. We'll talk about it. We'll write about it. We'll, podcast about it next week some more. And, you'll be in Utah. That should be fun.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
I've remember watching that stadium, like watching the 2002 Olympics of all things. I was a big
Right.
Olympics guy. The Winter Olympics, growing up in Michigan, they were better than the Summer Olympics, in my opinion. But
Mm.
so I'm looking forward to seeing like an Olympic stadium, and I've never been to Utah, so yeah, I
It's
can't wait.
beautiful.
I
Yeah,
can't
it's
wait.
really beautiful there. Yeah, mountains are gorgeous. It's a great place. So should be a lot of fun. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.